are pretty much on the same page as the oil interest of all other multinationals. Would you agree?
Oh, here again, I guess there are divisions. The Bush administration is heavily influenced by a neoconservative ideology, which calls for the United States dominating the Middle East and imposing certain ideological interests. And these do often clash with the best interests of U.S. multinational corporations. I think the U.S. oil companies would like to be able to trade with Iran, but that's not possible right now because of the ideological interests that prevail in Washington. So you have a clash of interests.
Let's talk about Georgia and the Caspian Sea.
Okay.
For our listeners, why don't you just sketch out that whole theater of war?
Well, you can't understand what's happening in the Caucasus in Georgia without seeing this as an extension to the Caspian Sea basin. That's the Caspian Sea is surrounded by former Soviet republics of Azerbaijan and Kazakhstan and Turkmenistan, and these countries all possess a lot of oil and natural gas, which the United States and its European allies would like to get their hands on. Problem there is that the Caspian Sea has no outlet to the oceans, so you can't get tankers in there. Everything has to come out by pipeline, and all of the existing pipelines at the time of the breakup of the Soviet Union ran through Russia and then onward to Europe or wherever. And the Clinton administration did not want to see this potentially huge new source of energy being dependent on the Russian pipeline system, which is controlled by Gazprom and other state-controlled pipeline systems.
Right.
So the Clinton administration, which played a key role in this, determined to build an alternative pipeline system that ran west through Azerbaijan and Georgia, and then on to Turkey and the Mediterranean and Europe.
Is that the BTC pipeline?
They were responsible for, it was Clinton who masterminded the construction of the BTC pipeline for Baku, Tbilisi in Georgia, and Ceyhan, or Ceyhan, as it's pronounced, on Turkey's Mediterranean coast. And because this pipeline would be exposed constantly to the kind of trouble we've seen in the past few weeks, the U.S. turned Georgia into a proxy state for the U.S. military. And we've poured hundreds of millions of dollars into building up Georgia into a military protectorate under U.S. Military guidance. And this, I think, led the president of Georgia, Mikhail Saakashvili, to believe that the U.S. would back him up in anything, including an attack on these Russian-backed secessionist provinces of Abkhazia and South Ossetia. And that was the setting, the backdrop for the crisis that unfolded over the past 2 weeks. The Russians eagerly seized on this as an opportunity to demonstrate their intention to block, whenever they wanted it, to sever the BTC pipeline and future natural gas pipelines.
I have friends who would know in the intelligence community who have told me that Blackwater and other U.S. security contractors and Israeli security contractors have been arming and training Georgian military forces and security forces. This led to a provocation. This is one of the many provocations that caused Russia to do what it did. Are you getting any kind of reports on that we already have advisors, covert or otherwise, in Georgia, and they're really stirring the pot, so to speak?
Well, as I say, the U.S. has a military protectorate relationship with Georgia. We have a train and equip program. There's nothing covert about it. There are U.S. military personnel operating openly. We have military training bases in Georgia. We've trained a large part of the Georgian military in combat infantry operations, and the main purpose is to protect the BTC pipeline. No doubt there are subcontracts with, as there always are, with these private military companies to do specialized training. But this is an overt objective of the U.S. military since Clinton administration to turn the Georgian military essentially into a pipeline protection service. Now, the Russians, of course, view this as a threat to their pipeline monopoly in Gazprom, and I think that they see South Ossetia and Abkhazia as springboards for attacks on the pipeline, and they've shown that they're going to remain in that area to be able to sever those pipelines at will.
So it becomes almost a bargaining chip. It's like, you know, they're there in South Ossetia with the potential to intimidate. So does it become like a bargaining chip with other issues, say the anti-missile defense system in Poland and the radar system in Czechoslovakia that NATO is now trying to get up?
That's peripheral. Let me say more. By the way, all of this is laid out